Keith Azopardi used his speech to take aim at the government's record of public finances. Whilst welcoming some of the measures announced in the budget to help those on lower incomes, the opposition leader accused the Chief Minister of once again using the taxpayer to bail the government out for its own mistakes. He described the surplus of £2.5 million projected for the end of March as little more than putting a sticky plaster on a deep festering wound, and he accused the government of deliberately masking the true financial picture. As examples, he compared the lower projections for the GHA, the sponsored patients programme, and also teaching.
So beyond the eye-catching miracle headline of the 2.5 million surplus, in fact, there are very clear reasons for the projection and pretense of the restoration of so-called financial stability, and none point to any government-inspired brilliance. It must be clear that those numbers are unattainable, and without them, the projection would only be for another deficit. And those unrealistic numbers are not the only ones in this budget.
Keith Azopardi said just because there is a projection of a surplus built on unrealistic figures and people's tax monies, that does not mean Gibraltar is in a stable place, highlighting what he described as the atmospheric public debt figure of £1.9 billion. As in recent years, the GSD leader said his party would not be voting for the budget.
People are tired of a decade of borrowing without restraint. People are tired of a decade of breached promises on debt. They're tired of a decade of spending without discipline, a decade of not controlling public sector contracts, a decade of not controlling waste and abuse, and a decade where systematically the people's money have been spent without restraint and without transparency. People are tired of working hard to bail out this government's mistakes. Why should this carry on any longer? Soon, they'll have a chance to tell them enough is enough and show them the door. So for all those reasons, Mr. Speaker, and those that will be set out by my colleagues, we cannot support the unrealistic appropriation bill built on continuing opaqueness, a fiction, and an approach to public finances that we simply do not share and would want to radically change.
And responding to the Chief Minister's criticisms of the past, Keith Azopardi had a few of his own.
He says his government has saved Gibraltar. Wow, that really stuck in my throat. That the GSLP has saved Gibraltar, that he remembers the Gibraltar of 2011 and reminisces with romantic nostalgia for the GSLP of the past as he looked at his predecessor with teary eyes. Well, Mr. Speaker, I remember the past too. I remember the Gibraltar of 1996, of the culture of fear, of the fast launches, of the jobs and contracts for the boys, of the secretive companies, of the riots, of the absence of opportunity for young people, of the dead-end jobs, of the Gibraltar of the GSLP where you were with them or against them, of the sheer desperation that people had with no future. Sounds familiar? Because those themes have come back. Except the web of companies is now a jungle, and the debt makes the Joe Bossan of 1996 look like a saint.
The opposition leader ended his speech by saying the government had become part of the problem and that it was time for them to go.